All right, ghost hunters, buckle up. We're diving into nightmare mode and phasmophobia, and let me tell you, it's not for the faint of heart. You guys have sent in some seriously hardcore Reddit guides and next-level YouTube tutorials. Clearly, you're not messing around.
Not at all. Nightmare mode, it's a whole different beast. You're not just identifying ghosts anymore. You're practically playing 4D chess with these things, trying to outsmart them with barely any clues.
Yeah, less evidence, way more pressure. So where do we even start when the ghosts are basically ninjas of the paranormal world?
You know, there's one thing the Reddit community seems to agree on. Finding the ghost room ASAP is absolutely key. It's like step one in your investigation handbook.
Makes sense. Wandering around in the dark is basically like ringing the dinner bell for these things,
Right.
right? But I gotta admit, sometimes the urge to just rush in there, throw down some equipment, and hope for the best, it's strong.
Oh, totally. One YouTuber actually calls out that impatience as like rookie mistake number one. And they're a slow and steady, strategic approach, way more effective, especially when you're working with limited evidence.
So no more running headfirst into a haunting, huh?
Exactly. Focus on those subtle hints the environment gives you. Temperature, for example, can be a major giveaway. A consistent drop in temperature, that's a pretty good sign you found where the party's at.
And not just like a quick dip, right? I remember seeing a video about the Tier 1 thermometer, and apparently it's not as straightforward as it used to be.
Absolutely. The creator of that video tips to easily find the ghost room fast. Made a good point. There have been some changes to the thermometer readings lately, so instead of freaking out over a single blip on the radar, you got to look for that steady downward trend.
So it's all about the subtleties now. The devil's in the details, or in this case, I guess, the ghost is in the steadily decreasing temperature.
And once you found that icy spot, well, that's when the real detective work starts.
So we found our spooky spot. Now it's time to figure out, like, who's throwing this paranormal party? Because in nightmare mode, one wrong guess, and bam, you're the main course on the ghosts menu.
Oh, absolutely. Knowing your enemy, it's crucial. And these guides you sent over, they really highlight just how important it is to understand what those ghost behaviors actually tell us about them. The Reddit guide in particular, it goes deep on two really cool concepts: forced evidence and exclusive behavior. Like, master those, and you'll be solving nightmare mode hauntings like a pro.
Okay, love it. So break it down for us. Forced evidence and exclusive behavior, what are they? And how do we use them to, survive the night?
Okay, so think of forced evidence like a guarantee. Certain ghosts, they're hardwired to have specific pieces of evidence every single time. And in nightmare mode, huge help when you're working with like a fraction of the clues. Take the Goryo, for example. DOTS always can be one of its pieces of evidence.
Okay, that's helpful and all, but I've got to admit something. I've spent way too many investigations like huddled in a corner praying to see those DOTS projections. Any tips for those of us who aren't exactly blessed with, ghost vision?
Oh, I gotcha. Here's a little trick. You don't actually have to see the DOTS yourself. You just need your trusty video camera. Plant that bad boy in the ghost room, and if the Goryo interacts with it while those projections are active, boom. DOTS evidence right there on camera, even if you couldn't see them with your own two eyes.
Now that is a game changer. So many wasted sanity pills.
See, folks, this is why we deep dive. But okay, what about these exclusive behaviors? Is that like ghost slang for party tricks that only some of them can do? Exactly. Think of them like unique signatures. These actions, they give the ghost away, even if the evidence itself is being all cagey. The Banshee, for example. One of the YouTubers, they describe its audio cue as this like blood-curdling shriek. And honestly, they're not wrong.
Yeah, that banshee wail is something else. Once you've heard it, you never forget it.
And the best part, you can often hear it even when you're not getting any other evidence. So picture this. The EMF reader's quiet, no fingerprints, nothing. But then you hear that spine-chilling screech. Well, congrats, you found yourself a banshee. Then you've got the miling on the other end of the spectrum. The king of speak softly and carry a big sanity drain,
Yeah.
During a hunt, this ghost is practically silent. Super hard to track just by listening.
So the banshee's all about that dramatic entrance, and the miling's more of the strong, silent type.
Exactly. But here's the catch. The miling never shuts up. It's constantly whispering. You just need the right tool to eavesdrop. The parabolic microphone. If those whispers start to sound less like, whispers and more like a crowded coffee shop, you might just have a chatty miling on your hands.
And we all know how much those Myling love a good chat, especially when it comes to draining our sanity. Which, speaking of, brings us to the masters of messing with our minds. Get ready for some serious chills, folks, because we're about to unpack the sanity-draining shenanigans of Phasmophobia's most notorious entities. Okay, folks, hold on to your sanity pills, because we're about to get deep into sanity drainers. And first up, we got to talk about the ghost that needs no introduction. The one that gives even the most experienced ghost hunters a run for their money. The demon.
Yeah, the demon doesn't mess around. One YouTuber even said, going up against a demon is like playing with fire, exhilarating and terrifying all at once.
And I'm guessing a big part of that terror comes from their, let's just say, very proactive approach to haunting.
Oh, absolutely. Demons, they throw a wrench at any plans you had to, like, actually keep your sanity. Forget waiting for it to drop below a certain level. These guys can hunt whenever they feel like it. Sanity level doesn't matter.
So much for those pre-hunt sanity pill rituals. It's like you're walking a tightrope, you're blindfolded, and there's a demon poking you with a stick. Any other fun demonic quirks we should be aware of?
Crucifixes. Don't forget those. Lifesavers, especially against a demon. One of the Reddit guides actually pointed out a really important detail about it. Demons, they've got a bigger crucifix range than usual, 5 meters compared to the standard 3. Placement is everything.
So it's like they've got a bigger nope zone, and by nope zone, I mean stay away from my soul zone. Okay, so that's the demon. Unpredictable, terrifying, can strike at any moment. But what about the other sanity drainer we mentioned? The Ure. How's it different?
If the demon is all about that sudden, heart-stopping fear of the Ure, it's more like a slow, creeping dread that just gets worse and worse as your sanity drops.
Yeah.
Unlike the demon with its, hunt whenever policy, the Ure's speed is directly tied to your sanity level. Lower sanity, faster it moves during a hunt.
Oh, that is just cruel. You're already freaking out because your sanity's plummeting, and then this thing is just like gaining on you, feeding off your fear. Nightmare fuel for sure. But hey, at least with those two, you kind of know what you're getting into. Pure, unadulterated aggression. But then there's, the ghost that throws a curveball into the mix, the one that makes you question everything you thought you knew about Phasmophobia. I am, of course, talking about the master of disguise, the mimic.
Ah, the mimic. Proof that the devs really want us to stay on our toes. This ghost. Deception is its middle name. It can mimic the traits, even the evidence of other ghosts.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to get.
So it's like the ultimate paranormal prankster,
Yeah.
and a total nightmare for anyone trying to actually identify it in nightmare mode. Any tips for spotting these ghostly copycats?
Remember how we were talking about understanding those average probabilities?
Mm-hmm.
The Reddit guy really emphasized that, and it's super relevant when you're dealing with a mimic.
Okay, now I'm really interested. How do averages help us unmask a mimic?
It's like this. Even when there's no other evidence, like it's not showing EMF level 5, fingerprints, whatever, the mimic will always give itself away with ghost orbs.
So even when it's trying to blend in, it can't resist leaving a little calling card. That feels important to remember.
Totally. If you keep seeing those orbs, but nothing else is adding up, maybe you think it's a wraith based on other clues, but then bam, ghost orbs, that's your sign. Mimic might be messing with you.
Wow, this has been an intense crash course in advanced ghost hunting. I gotta say, I'm feeling a lot more prepared to tackle nightmare mode now. Any last words of wisdom before we wrap things up?
Here's a simple but super effective tip from one of the YouTube videos. It's all about setting yourself up for success right from the start. Always check the breaker as soon as you enter the investigation. If it's off, turn it on.
Now, forgive me if this is a dumb question, but why is that so important? It's just a breaker, right?
Might seem small, but trust me, it can make a huge difference. Turning on that breaker lets the environment stabilize, temperature-wise. And that means those little temperature drops in the ghost room. Way more obvious. You're basically turning up the volume on those clues.
Talk about attention to detail. It's those little things that can make or break an investigation, especially in nightmare mode. Well, there you have it, ghost hunters. We've talked strategies, we've busted some myths, and hopefully you've learned a thing or two to make your nightmare mode experience a little less, well, nightmarish.
Remember, knowledge is power. And in Phasmophobia, that knowledge might just save your life.
Huge thank you to you, our Phasmophobia expert extraordinaire, for walking us through the spooky world of nightmare mode. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you listeners for sending in those amazing resources. Now go out there, make us proud, and show those ghosts who's boss. We'll be back next time with another deep dive into the paranormal. Until then, happy hunting.